Welcome to the California Department of Education Integrated and Designated English Language Development Transitional Kindergarten through Grade 12 video series. Designated English Language Development, building into and from mathematics in grades 9 and 10. In this lesson, the students are reviewing and practicing listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills to exchange information and ideas that build the language resources necessary to write a paragraph explaining how they solved a mathematical problem. The students will use these language resources to accurately demonstrate their understanding of mathematics content in speaking and writing, now and in their mathematics class. The focal California English Language Development Standards driving this lesson. The English Language Development Standards at the bridging level are grades 9 and 10. Part 1, Standard 1. Exchanging information and ideas, where students contribute to class, group, and partner discussions, sustaining conversations on a variety of age and grade-appropriate academic topics by following turn-taking rules and asking and answering relevant on-topic questions, affirming others, and providing coherent and well-articulated comments and additional information. Grades 9 and 10, Part 1, Standard 10B, Writing, where students write clear and coherent summaries of texts and experiences by using complete and concise sentences and keywords. And grades 9 and 10, Part 2, Standard 2B, Understanding Cohesion, where students apply knowledge of familiar language resources for linking ideas, events, or reasons throughout a text to comprehending grade-level texts and writing cohesive texts for specific purposes and audiences. Watch how students move from early levels of proficiency toward the bridging levels of these English language development standards throughout the lesson. The supporting California Common Core State Standards for Mathematics use in tandem with the focal English language development standards. The mathematics standard is grades 9 and 10, Higher Mathematics Standards, Functions, Interpreting Functions, Standard 8A. Analyze functions using different representations. Students who demonstrate understanding write a function defined by an expression in different but equivalent forms to reveal and explain different properties of the function. Students use the process of factoring and completing the square in a quadratic function to show the zeros, extreme values, and symmetry of the graph, and interpret these in terms of a context. Watch for how this California standard is addressed throughout the lesson. Watch how the teacher leads the students in activities that move them to create cohesive explanations of the processes used in solving a mathematical problem. The students engage in mathematical discourse using newly learned language structures, first through listening, then with oral practice, reading, and finally through collaborative and independent writing.
So today we're going to record experiences from a group activity by doing two things. We're going to describe the sequence of our procedures and the reasons for different steps in a group paragraph. Everyone, what are we going to write today? A group paragraph. So that comes after we have this experience. And we're also, in our paragraph, we're going to use appropriate signal phrases to indicate the sequence, process, and reasons. So I'd like you to think for a moment right now, what are some signal phrases that you know that we've been practicing? So phrases to indicate the sequence, the process, and the reasons. So think for a minute right now so you can share at your tables. Please share some signal phrases that you know. Ready? Go.
Signal phrases. Okay, this is a good process.
I have next and after.
Huh?
I have next and after.
So next, after
We started.
Yeah,
we started.
we started by.
To represent and we planned after in order to, so that we started by. in order to represent.
What are some of the signal phrases that you discussed? To determine, right? Because we're trying to complete a goal, right? To determine. Thank you. Daniela, what's a signal phrase or vocabulary word?
To represent.
Represent, thank you. What are some words that we know to indicate the sequence? You can shout it out. What are some sequence words we know?
To begin.
To begin, first, then, right. So we're going to use all of those together to describe our experiences and write a group paragraph. Take a moment to review what does the rope represent and what does the graph paper represent. And you can tell your partners, try to use this word represent. So what does the rope represent? What does the graph paper represent? You can tell your partners when you're ready.
The graph paper represents the size of the plot of land.
The rope represents 100 meters, and then the graph is representing the area that they are going to look for.
Aniel, what does the rope represent?
100 meters.
Thank you. Can you use the word represent in a sentence?
The rope represents 100 meters.
Thank you. And let's see, Dylan, what does the graph paper represent?
The graph paper represents the area
The area of
the land.
where they're going to dig up the gold, right?
Yes.
Hopefully they'll find gold.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Okay, so at your tables, your job is to answer those questions. And you have some space here where you took notes yesterday. So in a minute, I'll give you a chance to describe your ideas from yesterday so that you can prepare for the writing activity that comes next. So we need to answer the question, but you probably have different things that you need to do in a sequence. So take a moment to look at your notes from yesterday. Look at your notes from yesterday. I have these notes from yesterday. You should have more than this. And if you don't, then you'll work with your team to determine the sequence as well as the answer to the questions. Okay, I'm going to ask you to share at your table the notes and ideas that you have so far, and then you can work for a few minutes with each other just to try and work out those answers. Okay, let's begin.
I think the largest one is be a square, so I put 25 and 25 in each size. So I got
The left and right part.
what is
Perimeter.
yeah perimeters? I got 100, and the area I got 625.
Okay, so for my plot of land, I got perimeter 98, and then the area I got 544. So we just grabbed the land that we were going to do.
Perimeter or the area?
If 25 is more big.
You have to determine that.
She said the largest one is more big one, so 625 is big.
And I got 544.
Yeah, so you need change, I think. I think the first is we measured the wrap is 100 meters,
Yeah.
so we need cut like 50 and 50. So we guess like which number plus which number equals 50.
Yeah, so we just first measured the graph we measured.
Yeah. So
First we got the materials. Right?
Or how did you find
first
the largest area? And then
We
what
got
did
the
you have to
materials.
do?
Second week.
How to spell to
If you look at the formulas, that might help. So if you're finding the area, what are you doing to find
Then the second step was to measure the rope and measure the rope and
You can also,
uses to measure.
so you would take this side,
largest one?
25, and this
yes.
side,
So we just
25.
measured
What would you do?
measured the rope
Multiply. There you go.
and
When you were second.
Show me thumbs up if you think you're ready to start writing. Not yet? Okay. So you had a nice discussion about the procedures, and you were also taking notes. That's good. Thank you. I also gave you some reminders for how to use some of the vocabulary that we've been practicing, like determine, represent, different verb forms. So look at used and then using. So here, this was an action. This is describing the reason or the purpose. So different forms of the verb. So your job now is to write your paragraph as best you can. Everyone should be writing. I want to see different kinds of handwriting. And I want to show you some reminders as well of what you can be doing. So since you're only writing one paragraph, maybe you think, well, I can't write all the time. That's okay. You can also be giving suggestions. Maybe you want to read aloud of what's been written so far. Maybe you want to check the paragraph requirements from your checklist and make sure that you're doing all of these things here in the dots. Okay, so everyone should be participating and adding to the paragraph, even if you're not all writing at the same time. You can certainly take turns writing. Okay, how are we feeling so far? Good? Good. Feeling good? Okay, so let's see the magic. Let's see it happen. If you need help, raise your hand. You have partners too. That's okay.
What procedures do you use?
Okay.
First, we measure the parameter. Put that down.
Oh, we need an introduction.
To start with, we first we measure the perimeter. We measure the perimeter. And period.
Yes, because that's how you're going to introduce the procedure.
Period.
Right? That's going to be your topic center.
Second, we counted the area of the perimeter.
Counted, okay, second. We added.
to represent the plot of land, we used addition and multiplying to find out the area and perimeter. Yeah. Okay, so
Our goal is to determine
to
what
represent to represent the land. We used addition and multiplying. Multiplying to represent the area and perimeter.
Haniel, have you explained what the different objects represent? Yes, that's what you're doing now. So while she's writing that, you can think about how to describe this and this.
So the second step was we measured the rope and decided where the land was going to be and what was it representing.
See
So
what you've done.
The rope,
means 100 meters, and the land represents the area of
Now, I see the
represent the land.
procedures, but what kind of sentence do we want at the beginning?
So you can write it now.
It's up there, and it's also in your chart.
Oh, what's the what's the represent the land we use.
First, we analyze the information
We want to know why you're using the
to
road.
know
In order
So
to
explain what the road represents.
in order to find out the largest no
in order to solve the problem.
in order to
Solve the problem. The situation.
but what's the situation?
The situation.
That in order to solve
The situation. Because you already said
the term
to solve the situation.
information in order to solve the situation, to find the largest
Possible.
Have you explained what the objects represent? Yes. So while she's writing that, you can think about how to describe this.
possible, to find the most gold possible. Information in order to solve the situation of finding.
I'd like you to read aloud what you have so far. Okay, even if it's just one sentence, I want you to read it aloud. Begin.
Our goal was to determine what was the largest possible area. To start with, we measured the perimeter. Second, we counted the area of the perimeter.
Our goal was to determine the largest area with the road of 100 meters. To represent the perimeter, we use the road, which is 100 meters.
Beyond the designated English language development lesson, building into and from content instruction. By engaging in designated English language development lessons such as this one, the students are better prepared to engage with math content materials and are more confident to explain their growing math content knowledge through collaborative speaking and writing activities, in small groups, as a whole class, and individually, with increasing independence.
Because when we divide, we divide 3 by 2.
Reflection and discussion. Reflect on the following questions. First, how did you observe the following focal English language development standards and supporting content standards being implemented in this grade 9 and 10 designated English language development lesson? English language development, Part 1, Standard 1, Exchanging Information and Ideas. Part 1, Standard 10B, Writing. Part 2, Standard 2B, Understanding Cohesion. And Interpreting Functions, Standard 8A. Second, what features of designated English language development did you observe in the lesson? Now pause the video and engage in a discussion with colleagues. The California Department of Education would like to thank the administrators, teachers, and students who participated in the making of this video. This video was made possible by the California Department of Education in collaboration with WestEd and Timbre Films.